I'm on. I'm wired and I'm on. Praise the Lord. Once again, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for being here and again ready to listen to our stories. I was interested this morning from the stories from Bishop Third. But mainly we are people with stories because we are made up by stories. So I started by telling stories or a story of God's faithfulness to our beloved country, Rwanda. God's faithfulness to his church in this country, in the midst of darkness. The church, in this state of darkness, being weak, and yet God worked miraculously to use this weak church. The period post-genocide, we are still in that period, mainly after 1994, a very complicated period where the church leaders, in fact, leaders were very few, as I shared yesterday afternoon, and yet the church ready to be used by the Lord for the suffering people. The church being called to minister to the people in a very complicated situation in the area of suffering morally, physically, socially, and even spiritually. It was in this time, post-genocide, I mean, that we, when I say we, among the church leadership, we worked hard to introduce the 3 levels of our ministry: the relief, or feeding people, giving them water from somewhere, clothing them, and the second level at the same time, trying to work and work with them in the area of rehabilitation. Now we have reached the area of reconstruction of our country. Bear in mind these 3 phases: relief, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. There is a story in this perspective, and I will tell you the story. In that the church was trusted, and still trusted, by the international humanitarian organizations. The European community, economic community, trusted the Diocese of Byumba, where I have been a bishop for 19 years, gave us money to feed people, to buy food for people, and at the same time, to do rehabilitation. There is a part of the Diocese of Byumba, the eastern part of it, they did not grow potatoes, the Irish potatoes. So with this help, we tried to introduce Irish potatoes as a new crop in that zone. For them to get potatoes It was very costing to transport them for western part of the diocese, northern part of the country, to bring in that place to feed the people. So we bought potatoes and take to this place, eastern part of the diocese, a place called Muhura, to feed them. At the same time, to distribute potatoes as seeds, as a new crop for them to grow this. When I was going to launch this project, driving, I saw a lady sitting by the side of the road. I stopped and talked to this lady, Claire, her name. She had 2 twins, girls of 5 months old. There was another girl, 15 years, helping her to carry these babies and other belongings. This lady she is a survivor of genocide. Anyway, I asked a question, why are you sitting here? I am going to Muhura. Muhura, that's the place I was going. So come, I will give you a ride. And we went, she entered the car with the children and the other girl. While we were talking together, she started to tell me story and a story. So they became stories. She told me, I quote, I'm going to Muhura to get potatoes. I said, potatoes? Potatoes from where? And she continued to tell me how grateful even she is because there is a Protestant bishop who is distributing potatoes. I was not in the clerical and a purple shirt. I was interested to listen to these stories. Yes, ma'am. A Protestant distributing potatoes? Yes. A bishop? Yes, that's what we have been told. And she went on. And do you know, Mzee, old man, do you know, Mzee? No, yes, what? We were told that this bishop is in the has been admitted in the hospital because he was injured by the car in Kenya. And that was me. And that's it. I was injured. And I was admitted in the hospital. It was in March. I had been injured in November, so I stayed in the hospital, in the Nairobi hospital. But in January, I went to Rwanda, the following year, 1995. So she became busy praying for the bishop who loves the people, even the people who do not belong to the Protestant church, like me. Oh, Mary, Mother of Jesus, help this bishop to recover, to come to his people. Oh, God, I wish I could see him. Okay, I was carrying one of the baby girl, and she was busy praying for the bishop behind there. And we continued talking, and praying we were talking. We reached the area of the distribution of the potatoes. Everything had been arranged, and I was going to launch the project. And when the children saw me, they ran. That's in our parish, at our parish headquarters. Oh, our bishop has come, our bishop has come, our bishop, our bishop, our bishop. This lady was, oh, so I have been traveling with the bishop. Remember, she is a Roman Catholic lady. And in our context, I don't know here, in our context, normally, a normal member of the church, bishop being stopped and carrying her, it's not usual. Maybe nuns, maybe priests going with the bishop. Well, a normal person. So she was tumbled. In fact, she ran away. I had to call, to take some people to call her to come to take her potatoes. And I ordered the people to start from her. I requested the people to start with her. We used to give 50 kilograms for eating, for you to consume, and 70 for planting. Normally, that's a lot to plant. So she planted. She went and ate those. And we had an agriculturalist, extensionist, I don't know if it means anything, whether it means anything, to follow every person in that community to see how the potatoes have been planted and grow. And I requested him to intentionally follow the garden of this lady. And this time I'm telling you, the lady is a business lady with the potatoes. This time I'm telling you, you go on the village, you ask Claire, business lady, who has built even a shop to sell potatoes, they will say, oh, tell you, sorry, that's Claire from the potatoes distributed to her by the bishop. By the bishop. Why I'm telling this story? I'm telling this story, brothers and sisters, to tell you where we come from. When I watched this lady, from being fed to feed herself and to supply to others in the community, I see her from, of course, relief, rehabilitation, and self-sustaining herself. Our country, Rwanda, is a poor country. Among other countries in Africa, it is a rural country where the leadership is trying to introduce industry for the people to self-sustain. But at that junction, by the grace of God, I can tell you we have come far, from far, to reach where we are now as a country. When you visit Rwanda and you look around, you could hardly believe that we were in such a state 20 years ago, a state of being fed as a people. You can see new buildings coming up, growing here and there in different towns and in the city of Kigali mainly. You can see the church, which has built hundreds and hundreds of schools, mainly elementary schools we call primary schools in our home. You can see the church putting up the clinics, and we have planted hundreds and hundreds of churches. Byumba, I give as a sample. We started with 108 local churches. I left when we had 354 local churches. Rwanda is getting on its feet. Rwanda is learning how to walk. And a big but. Even in the midst of this, just for changes of Rwanda as a country, Anglican Church remains in a survival mode. We are still struggling to walk on our own feet, to have strength to be self-sustainable. Our country, as I have just mentioned, has come to a place where industry can sustain us in one another way, to help us to grow in our calling to serve the people in our community. And again, another big but. We are looking for seeds to sow. Like the first potatoes, which were given to the lady 70 kilo to plant in her garden, we don't just need food to eat. We need seeds to plant and to do it in faith. Brothers and sisters, let us sustain each other, and our call to you is to come and walk with us. Praise the Lord. You have started. And I have a gift, a special gift from you. Brendan, come here. That's a gift to the Anglican Church of Rwanda. Tell us more stories. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell us more stories.
That tries to highlight the beauty and the grace of what God is doing in Rwanda right now. It tells stories of 4 different people. So, Jeff, you can start the film.
Good job. Thank you.
It was 1994, and an entire nation was being swept off its feet, following a path of darkness, instilled by a march of hatred, violence, and chaos. It became a charge, many of its people running for their lives. For 100 days, the path disappeared for more than 1 million. Families, children, loved ones, footsteps lost forever. What do you do in a country where so many feet have strayed from the path, where so many continue to tread a path of hate, anger, retribution? Only one option remained: to stand up, to be on their feet, to learn to forgive, to put one foot in front of another in faith, to walk again. Today, 1 million Anglicans worship in 2,300 local churches across Rwanda, walking with Christ, making Christ known through radical acts of love and service to their communities, feeding the hungry, caring for the sick, educating the poor, guiding people towards reconciliation in Jesus Christ. But Rwanda still has a long path to walk. 70% of people make less than $2 per day, 30% make less than $1. 1,000 hills are left to climb. Rwanda teems with life, its hills emerald green, small subsistence farms carved out like a patchwork quilt by families attempting to draw life from the rich, dark soil. But fertile as it is, Rwanda still can't produce enough food and many people go hungry. This creates a particularly difficult problem for the most vulnerable. Nearly 50% of children under 5 don't grow properly due to malnutrition, a condition called stunting. Meet Damascene. He lives on Hombo, an island in Lake Kivu in the west of Rwanda. The island's isolation from the mainland makes it difficult for people here to live, many of them fishing for a very small catch. When Damascene was 4 years old, he could not walk. This was due to malnutrition and stunted growth. When the Anglican Church began feeding him a high-protein porridge, along with hundreds of other children, Damascene's life changed.
Damascene, he was on a program of the center, they have nutrition issues in the health center. He was 4 years old. The health center leader said, take this child. It is difficult for us. You had been treating him, but nothing is changing. And we took him, he was like a baby. Now he can walk himself. Today he's growing and he can attend the church. And when I see, for example, Damascene growing and smiling, I said, this is the second creation. And I praise God.
For Anglicans in Rwanda, walking alongside children means introducing them to the bread of life. For people who cherish the Word of God, education proves a sacred venture, opening up whole new worlds and possibilities for people at any position in society. The Anglican Church knows the power of words to transform hearts and lives. Reading and writing help people worship, grow, and flourish. 35% of women in Rwanda can't read or write. That's more than 1 out of every 3. 20% of people have never attended school. 89% have not finished secondary school. First steps are being taken towards an educated country. We invite children to tread towards a world of words and hope, helping disadvantaged children to attend school.
Niga umwaka wa mbere ariko mwiga mu buryo bugoranye mu byukuri.
My first year was very difficult. At the end, I realized I did not have the means to continue with school. I only have my mother. My dad passed away. I had to drop out for a long while. At the church, they helped me and gave the means to pay for my school fees, which helped me to complete my schooling. There came an opportunity for training in hotel and tourism skills. Dada C helped me with this too. I was able to study and I completed my certificate. Now I dream that I can get help to continue with my university studies. I would like to be a midwife.
The path forward is a bright one. Roads in Rwanda wind through mountains and dive through valleys. Each road tells a story of the people who walk them. For some, the walk along the road might be short. For others, the road remains long and arduous. Claudine lives in Kibali, a village outside the northern city of Byumba. Claudine has a serious condition and a serious problem. She and her youngest son are HIV positive. They need regular treatment to survive. For years, Claudine and others with her condition had to walk 10 kilometers each way to the hospital in Byumba for treatment. The journey drained her of all energy.
When the Anglican Church in Kibali built this health center, We were so relieved to not have to journey to Byumba anymore. HIV makes it easier to get many kinds of illness. Sometimes we are so weak from the medicines we're taking that it's hard even to be able to go to the hospital. With this clinic being closer, when we're not able to go there, doctors come to check on us in our homes and treat us well with so much care.
With her extra time and energy, Claudine has begun to serve others, volunteering as her church accountant, running the Mothers Union.
Anything God enables me to do, I do it.
The road is never too long to journey together. Sometimes the walk to hope can seem impossible. In Rwanda, the journey to forgiveness can be the most challenging of all. For Pastor Stephen, the question of forgiveness was real and painful. He lost everyone he loved during the violence and genocide of 1994.
I lost my family, my siblings. I was so harmed. Afterward, I was blessed when I felt my heart being held. Jesus made a miracle in my life and my heart. I was able to be reconciled with God and got the strength to forgive.
The road to peace can be rocky, but with God, all things are possible. Step by step, day by day, the Anglican Church lives and breathes the gospel throughout Rwanda, influencing more than 1 million lives. The Anglican Church has a major struggle. Since 1994, the province has relied heavily on external donors to support their most basic administrative costs.
We have only 4 people in the administration in the key areas, administering different ministry programs across the country.
The church has a dream of becoming self-sufficient, standing on her own 2 feet once and for all, creating a means for increasing its impact. Now that dream is a possibility. By developing prime real estate the church holds in Kigali, the province can support itself, ending its long reliance on foreign aid and the insecurity that brings.
Sustainability is very, very, very important because we planted this work. We've started the work. It must go on. We're not doing something that is going to live as long as we live. We're doing something that is going to outlive us. Our children and children's children have to inherit what we are doing.
We need your help to make this possibility a reality. The road has been a long one, but we can see the finish line.
Come walk with me.
Come walk with me.
Come walk with me.
Come quickly, come, let's walk together. Come, let's go to Ngombo, let's go to other hills, let's go to places, let's get this job done.
Your donation will help 1 million lives today and millions more into the future.
Aren't those great stories? Hearing those stories and collecting them over this last year was one of the great joys that I had living in Rwanda. Today we're going to be talking about what Archbishop Raje said at the end. We need seeds. We need seeds that we can plant in faith together that are going to grow so that we can stand on our own 2 feet. So right now, what am I going to do? I'm going to tell you where we are as the province of the Anglican Church of Rwanda, where we want to go, and the plan for how we're going to get there. Where we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. Where are we right now? One of the virtues of the East African revival is called walking in the light, laying it all on the table. Here's the deal, guys. We have a church that is 1.1 million people. It has 2,300 local churches in a place the size of New Hampshire. Think about that for a second. We have this incredible network of churches, but we only have 4 key administrators in our national church. We are dramatically and drastically underfunded. It's like we have an 800 horsepower engine of our church and we don't have a transmission. And because of this, the national church is not able to support the diocese and the parishes all across the country in the way that we could. And PEARUSA sends about $70,000 a year. I've had a lot of conversations around the country, and a lot of people are shocked at that figure. $70,000 a year is more or less what the administration of the Anglican Church of Rwanda has to work with, because they are more or less 100% funded by PEARUSA. So where are we going? Where are we going? Well, the province of the Anglican Church of Rwanda does not want to be in this state forever. They want to be, and this is one of my favorite phrases from Archbishop Raje, a unified and unifying province. They want to be a center of overflowing blessings from the province that cascades into the ministry of the diocese. They want to empower and equip the diocese and the parishes to continue the gospel work and mission in Rwanda. And they don't want to have the burden on their international relationships, on our relationship of being dependent. Friends, I haven't lived there very long, but it's very apparent very quickly the main struggle that we have in our relationship in Rwanda. It's two things, two sides of the same coin: paternalism and dependency. Paternalism and dependency. And these are two things that are bad for us here in the United States as well as in Rwanda. It's a major roadblock for the thriving, wonderful gospel relationship we have there. And the dependency that the national church has is the prime culprit of this. And the national church does not want to be in that state forever. They want to stand on their own 2 feet. And they don't want to have any impediments for the beautiful relationship that we continue to have and that we're continuing to strengthen. So they want to be on their own 2 feet. And the dream budget for this 1.1 million person organization is $400,000 a year. You want to talk about really lean use of resources. $400,000 a year is the dream budget. So that's a long way from $70,000. How are we going to do this? What's the plan? The plan. Archbishop Raje, when he came into Kigali as Archbishop, looked around, and when things sort of were reorganized in 2011, he lost his entire staff because they were 100% dependent on money from the United States, and for that period of time in 2011, no money was coming in. And so he looked around and he said, this is a terrible way to do church. What do other countries in Africa do? We're not the only Anglicans in Africa. How do other countries support their national church? And so he looked at Kenya. Well, about 40 years ago, when the English church left Kenya, they left a bunch of land and resources to the Anglican Church of Kenya. We were a Belgian colony, if you remember your history. So that didn't happen for us. And so what did they do? 40 years ago, a bunch of people said, why don't we develop these pieces of prime real estate in Nairobi? And so they created a company that's professionally run and managed called the Church Commissioners of Kenya. And that professionally run company then would pay dividends to the church. They started planting seeds. Well, today, that company pays out about $3.5 million in dividends to the National Church of Kenya, which means that Kenya isn't just self-sustainable, they're thriving. They're sending missionaries into Muslim parts of Kenya. They're going into some of the worst slums in their very backyard and able to preach the gospel. And probably one of the most important things for the national church is that the archbishop doesn't have to worry about whether or not he's going to be able to pay his staff at the end of the month, which is our current situation right now. And I can tell you, and you can imagine, how can you do the best gospel work possible if you're constantly having to worry about that? So Archbishop Raje was looking at this and said, why don't we try to do the same thing? Now, we don't have the assets that Kenya was given, but we do have a couple of pieces of prime real estate in Kigali which is a thriving and growing city. And so he and the National Church and the Synod have decided to create a company called the Church Commissioners of Rwanda, built on the same proven model as Kenya. Next slide. The first step is creating this company, a company that is going to help them develop a portfolio of businesses, just like they do in Kenya, to have cash flow to help support the work of the church. And the anchor investment that we're looking at is saying, all right, what is the highest and best use of this prime piece of real estate that we have in Kigali? And so with a team of Rwandans and Americans, we did market research and a bunch of business analysis, and we determined the best thing to put on this property is a mixed-use office building, 5 stories. And that mixed-use office building can be rented out and then can be rented out, and then the cash flow from that can help support the province. So a little bit about the building. It's 31,000 square feet. It's 5 floors. It's got subterranean parking. Most importantly, it's right across the street from the only big national football stadium in the entire country, right in the heart of the city. It's going to have retail space on the bottom floors and office space on the upper floors, which is important when you think about, sorry, next slide. Okay, the bottom line. Market research shows that there's strong demand for office space and retail space, and at 70% occupancy, the building that we're talking about would have net cash flow, and so net cash flow means after taxes, after expenses, everything. Net cash flow of $210,000 per year. And that's really conservative. We're using very conservative numbers there. And that's 3 times what PEARUSA is sending right now. It's already half of the way to their dream budget. $210,000 will completely transform the national church. And here's the thing. Just down the street, maybe a kilometer away, same kind of business model, a building opened up, mixed retail and office space. The day it had its grand opening, it was above 70% occupancy. The day it opened its doors. So what's the cost? The cost of the building. The cost of the building is about $2 million, the whole project altogether. And that's I'm including big overruns. I'm being very conservative with these figures. We need about $500,000 to $600,000 in cash to start building it in 2017. We already have building permits, which are very hard to get, architectural designs and everything. And by using short-term financing, we can start building in 2017, but fund the thing over 3 years. $2 million sounds like a lot of money. It sounds like a lot of money. But I want to show you how we as PEARUSA can absolutely help them meet this goal. First of all, there's been a lot of things already happening. We started this campaign in June 2015, so we just kicked this off. And with the help of a couple of league gifts, including $100,000 from Church of the Apostles in Raleigh, and $100,000 from 2 individuals, we can reasonably expect $500,000 over the next 3 years from a very limited number of conversations that we've been able to have with people in PEARUSA and individuals. $500,000. So that leaves $1.5 million. $1.5 million. In our network meeting today, Steve mentioned that at the height of AMIA, there was a $5.5 million home office budget every year. And PEARUSA is like a tenth of that for our home office budget. And you know, honestly, as somebody who's been called to work on this project, there have been many times that I asked myself, and really asked the Lord, Lord, why didn't you bring this up in 2006? Why have you waited for this time? And I've wrestled with the Lord about this. And the word that the Lord has been giving to me, to Archbishop Rajay, and even other members is from 2 Corinthians 12. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. Friends, there's no doubt about it. PEARUSA is not an overly wealthy church. It is not an overly strong church. But it's a church that God is calling to be in this gospel relationship with Rwanda. These people who have stepped out in faith for us, and now it is a chance for us to step out in faith with them. God is calling us to come around Rwanda in our weakness, to watch the miraculous things that God can do. And here's the thing. $1.5 million is entirely possible if we're all willing to give a little bit sacrificially. Let me show you the numbers. So the current estimates are $500,000, okay? There are 67 churches in PEARUSA, and a small number have already committed money, leaving the majority of us. If we could get 55 churches in PEARUSA on average to do two things, we'll be at this goal. The first, $5,000 a year for 3 years, okay? 55 churches on average, so some hopefully will be giving more, others may not be able to muster quite that much, giving $5,000 a year for 3 years. And the second one is this, finding 4 families to give $100 a month for 3 years. Friends, that's doable. $5,000 a year for 3 years, and 4 families to give $100 a month for 3 years, and that brings us to $2.1 million. But here's the thing, that only works if all of us get in this together. We're at a point right now where we are talking about how our relationship with Rwanda is going to be ongoing. How even though we are transitioning into ACNA, this is a relationship we care about, one that we value. And friends, this is an enormous opportunity to show them in Rwanda that this is not lip service. And I know that many of us are in church plants that are probably strapped for resources already. Many of us can feel our own weakness. But if we get together and decide this is the time for us to show Rwanda how grateful we are for what they have done for us, if we are able to get together, all of us, 55 churches on average, we're going to fund this project. And the reality is that there are not many opportunities, at least I haven't had many opportunities in my life and probably not in yours, where giving money can literally impact the lives of millions of people. There are a million people who go to the Anglican Church. There are many, many more who are influenced by their ministries across the country, millions. And this isn't just this isn't just one gift that will be there and go away. This is seed money. Just like that woman who Archbishop was talking about who had a bag of potatoes, who planted potatoes, and that one bag of potatoes has grown and flourished and supported her daughters as they were growing and now has built into their own sustainable system for supporting themselves. This is a totally different way of relating to Rwanda. And it's not because they want to be independent, right? They don't want to be independent from the Holy Spirit. They don't want to be independent from Americans. They want to have a reciprocal, mutual relationship with us. And you can't do that when one party is the one putting all of the money into the relationship. It just doesn't work. And so this is our window of opportunity. Next slide. This is our window of opportunity, our golden chance, to show Rwanda that this relationship means a lot to us and that we're willing to make sacrifices to see the gospel flourish in and amongst them, to be a part of something that's going to kickstart this engine of development that is going to last for decades to come and over the life of millions and millions and millions of people. But we can only do it if all of us decide to get behind it. If right now, as PEARUSA, we decide we are going to make this a priority and tell Rwanda this is what our love means. That starts tonight with all of you who have pledge cards. Now, it would be very easy to give $20, and many of you did probably the other night, and we're very grateful for that. But I challenge you to think about this as a 3-year pledge. What can you do over the next 3 years on a monthly basis? Because even if you give $25, $50, $100 a month, that adds up very, very quickly, if you saw from that slide. And not just that, but go to your churches and encourage them that this is the time for us to act. This is the time for us to step up and do what we always have said we do, which is love Rwanda and care about this relationship and be working for a less paternal way of relating to them. Now, there's got to be a million questions. I am able to field a couple of them. And so I want to open this up. There's a microphone right over there, and I just want to encourage people to feel free to come up, ask some questions about the project or about how you might be able to be involved. Yeah.